It's Wednesday, October 7th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 13 degrees, some light rain, and here is the 1310 News top story. It is budget time at City Hall, and staff have been instructed to draft a budget with 3% increase in mind for next year's property tax. The city staff trying to tamp down expenses, and the city will look at the province and the feds for some monetary help as well. With the details, here's 1310's Jason White.
This year, the plan is for a slightly higher cap on property tax increases at no more than 3%. City staff will draft a budget on the assumption the federal and provincial governments will cover tens of millions of dollars in added COVID-19 costs. But Mayor Jim Watson urged councillors to remind the other governments how important that support is.
In discussions I've had with various ministers and the Premier, there's clearly an understanding that we're going to need the provincial government's financial assistance to cover a significant deficit.
Councillor Laura Dudas got her fellow committee members to agree to a motion telling staff to look for capital projects that can be put off to another year if the province and the feds aren't as generous as hoped.
So that our residents know that we're going into this with a prudent vision.
City staff will table the draft budget early next month. Jason White, 1310 News.
Four of Ontario's major teacher unions are holding a media briefing at 2 o'clock this afternoon on the reopening of the province's schools. Now, the event comes after the Ontario Labour Relations Board last week dismissed the union complaint. It raised health and safety concerns about the school reopening plan in Ontario. Legal action was filed by the Elementary Teachers Federation, the Ontario English Catholic Teachers, the Ontario Secondary School Teachers, and the Association of Franco-Ontarians. The unions say they will join this afternoon by experts who will also weigh in on this reopening plan. A little bit of a wet morning this morning. Let's get the forecast now with 1310 News meteorologist Jill Taylor.
Well, heads up for scattered showers and thunderstorms today and a gusty wind. Our guaranteed high 16 will drop to 4 degrees for the low, and then cooler highs tomorrow near 10 with sun and cloud. For today, the guaranteed high 16.
And right now in Ottawa, some light rain. It's 13 degrees. Multiple precautions are being taken for tonight's American vice presidential debate in Utah due to the growing outbreak of COVID-19 at the White House.
Tonight, between Mike Pence and Kamala Harris, plexiglass that the vice president reportedly does not want and his aide has mocked. That aide, by the way, is married to Trump advisor Stephen Miller, who now has tested positive for COVID-19. Organizers are keeping a barrier in place amid concerns of the growing outbreak linked to the White House. Pence and Harris will be 12 feet apart. They'll be seated. Organizers saying anybody in the audience who refuses to wear a mask will be escorted out. Alex Stone, ABC News.
Now, some of the world's top health officials are reacting to the American president's bad medical care for COVID-19.
Richard Horton, editor-in-chief of Britain's top medical journal, The Lancet, admits that the science surrounding the coronavirus keeps changing, and that can be confusing for people. But there's a real danger, he says, in removing your mask and telling people everything is okay, as President Trump did on Monday night.
He was sending a signal to the American public not to take this virus and COVID-19 seriously. And that was reckless. It is dangerous to do so.
Horton says it's vital that people know and trust medical advice because the virus is still quite deadly. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
And I'm Andrew Boyle, 1310 News. For news anytime, follow up online at ottawamatters.com.
It's your time to talk back on The Rob Snow Show. Have your say at 613-750-1310.
Why do you think daily case counts of COVID-19 are hitting these record highs? What do you think is going on, and what should be done about it? I think this is what everybody's struggling to understand right now, and I'd like to get into this with you here during the Talkback Hour on the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV at 1310 News. Once again, let me just make an appeal to first-time callers today. If you've never called our show before, don't be shy. Okay, David is so polite on the phone. Mothers everywhere all across Ottawa rave about his manners on the phone. It's true. Just tell David, hey, I'm a first-time caller, and he'll put you at the front of the line. But I think we should pick up where we left off yesterday. I mean, there are other things happening in the news, but really I don't think any of them are as important as the ongoing battle of words, tug of war over direction, vision between health officials on one side, the Premier of Ontario on the other, Doug Ford. Because once again today, and let me give you that phone number, 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. Once again, it's another day, Wednesday. We have people in the healthcare system here locally, high-profile, powerful people, adding their voices to that chorus, demanding more closures to get a handle on the situation with the rising number of COVID-19 cases here in Ottawa and province-wide. And there's no doubt they're on the rise. The number of cases, we'll get the new numbers probably in about 10 minutes from now. Daily numbers, the number of people that are dying from COVID-19, that is increasing too. This morning, for example, over at Global News, I check this out every morning as part of my habit. They had this infographic on the front page of the Global News website. Keeps track of the 14-day count. And it says, in the last 4 days, the number of daily confirmed cases in Canada is up 80% in 14 days. And that the number of deaths is up 369% in the last 14 days. And this is, let's face it, it's mostly a Central Canada thing. Most of the cases, the vast majority of cases are in Ontario and Quebec. And in Ontario and Quebec, most of the cases are where? In the population centers of those two provinces. This is very much a big city thing. It's an Ottawa thing. It's a Peel region thing. Peel is basically Mississauga and Brampton. Western side of the GTA. It's a Toronto thing. It's a Montreal thing. It's a Quebec City thing. We have nothing to brag about. And I would note, just by way of comparison, the New York Times also runs a similar infographic to the one the Global News runs every day. And I looked that one up this morning, and it said this morning that the number of new cases across the United States in the last 14 days is up 6%. 6%. While the number of new deaths from COVID-19 in the last 14 days is actually down by 4%. New cases up 6%, deaths down 4%. Here in Canada, the same numbers are 80% and 369%. So no, we should not be waving our righteous fingers at our American friends. But my question for you is, when it comes to these case counts, more than 1,300 in Quebec yesterday. What was it yesterday, David? 600 and something? Ontario, right? 630 or something like that. It was north of 600, I believe. Why is this happening? And if you have an answer to that, what should we do about it? 750-1310. 750-1310. 613-750-1310. Anything? Should we do anything about it? Nothing at all? Should we just maintain the status quo? Or do you want someone in leadership, like say the Premier, to make a big, bold move and say, we need to shut things down again? We will compensate affected businesses, but we need to shut things down again. He is very resistant to that right now. For the first time since all of this began, we should replay the tape from a couple of days ago. Doug Ford, on why I'm not shutting down or hurting the restaurant industry right now.
These are people that have put their life in these small restaurants, and they put everything they've had, And I have to make sure 100%, I've proven before, we will do it in a heartbeat. But I have to see the evidence before I take someone's livelihood away from them and shut their lives down. That's a huge, huge decision that weighs on my shoulders and our team's shoulders. And it's tough. We're looking at restaurants. The vast majority, the overwhelmingly vast majority, are following the protocols. We put in additional guidelines by making sure that when you're going into a restaurant, there's 6 to a table, that we get contact information for every single person. We've reduced the hours of serving.
They're doing everything they can. Okay, that's what Premier Ford is saying. There are many who do not agree with that position. I'm not saying I'm one of them. I'm just telling you there are many who disagree on the healthcare side, on the public health side. We now have, 2 local hospital CEOs, Queensway Carleton and CHEO, calling for tighter restrictions. Last week on Twitter, it was the CEO of the Queensway Carleton Hospital. He, through a tweet, endorsed the opinion of the Ontario Hospital Association that it's time to start dialing things back, closing things down. Bars, indoor dining for restaurants, patios are okay. Yeah, patios are okay. The colder weather is already here, and it's only going to get colder. And apparently, I heard on the news, these patio heaters, boy, oh boy, they're hard to come by these days. They are hard to come by these days. You don't just walk into Home Depot and buy one anymore. And the CEO of CHEO, Alex Munter, ran for mayor, longtime city councilor, and CEO of CHEO for a long time now, annual salary $330,000. I'm only mentioning that because it's bound to come up. He says, if you want to save the school year, that activities like indoor dining, that it needs to stop for now. Quote, it doesn't really help businesses if people are too scared to walk in their door, he said. There needs to be support for businesses, obviously, and for their employees, but it's hard for me to imagine how we flatten the curve without stronger public health measures in Ottawa and Toronto. End quote. So you add one more person to the list, a high-profile person, a leader in the community, CEO of one of our hospitals. Start closing things down. Premier Ford, no way, not right now. I'm not going to ruin people's lives, not right now. But I would say when it comes to the hospital situation, you can't say we haven't been warned. According to a news report today, CHEO swamped again. Just had 2 available beds in the entire hospital as of yesterday. Queensway Carleton Hospital CEO last week, we're at 107% capacity. In other words, over capacity. That's not the case for the Ottawa Hospital, according to Randall Denley's column in the paper today. Randall's going to be on our program tomorrow. The Ottawa Hospital, so the General and the Civic appears to have things well in hand. So again, it's COVID confusion. But the Premier is just not willing to entertain this just yet, not now. He's not saying never, that he'll never do it, never again, but he's just not, he just can't fathom the thought of doing this right now and potentially destroying the lives of hardworking, family-owned businesses, the lives of hardworking entrepreneurs. So it seems there is a line in the sand. There is a line in the sand. But cases, and it's all over the news. Yesterday, highest daily increase across Canada ever. 2,206 cases. Why is that happening? And what would you do about it? Give me a call. Explain it to me. I'd love to hear your ideas. 750-1310, 750-1310. It's our talkback hour on the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and 1310 News.
The Rob Snow Show, brought to you by Myers Automotive Group. Stop putting off having love in your life. Take the first step in finding an amazing partner to share your life and activities with. Call Misty River Introductions at 613-257-3531 for a free consultation. With 25 years of experience matching singles, Misty River Introductions will find you someone to spend the long, cold winter with. Get started at MistyRiverIntros.com or call 613-257-3531.
Now, I don't scare easy, but home reno shows, they scare me. Here's easy advice for home upgrades. First, tear out that musty old study. Who really needs a formal dining room? Put in a pool table from Pure Water. What about ping pong or air hockey or a poker table? Up your game and your game room. Pure Water will set you up with all the best game room gear. They'll even bring it in and set it up. Pure Water Total Home Leisure, 2070 Robertson and Moody in Bill's Corners. You, your family, and fun.
First there was Lisa, the loud talker. There was Kim, the quiet talker. And then Nikki, who always finished watching the series without you. Who does that? Then Jen, who was an ovo-lacto-pescatarian, who insisted you be one too. Joyce, the tickler. Kate, the secret smoker. Patricia, the open-mouth chewer. Keisha, who was really cool until she got back with her ex, which wasn't cool. Mindy, who was anti-soap. Who doesn't like soap? Priya, who ate all the cheesy nachos and left you with the dry ones. And then you found her. That took long enough. So maybe don't spend too long looking for the engagement ring. At Spence Diamonds, all our diamonds are ethically sourced, and we have over 2,500 rings in store. From big diamonds to budget-friendly, from modern to classic. So you can find a ring you fall in love with the first time. Spence Diamonds. Open now in Rideau Center with COVID safety protocols.
Oh dear, what if us apples don't get picked this year, Macintosh?
Nonsense. There'll be plenty of Subarus about. And remember, you're a golden delicious.
What about Honey Crisp and Gala in the orchard way up on the hill?
Dish posh with symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive. They'll even pick old Granny Smith.
Really? Where is Granny?
Over the hill and down in the dale.
Fall back into fall adventures with a Subaru. Hurry in for clear-out deals on 2020 models at your local Ontario Subaru dealer.
So you're moving. How exciting. But stressful. So why squeeze it into one insane, hectic day? Cubit can help. Go to cubit.ca and have a moving container delivered to you. It's easy. Take your time filling your container and have it picked up and delivered to your new location, or Cubit can store it for you. No pressure, no deadlines, a schedule that works for you. Cubit portable storage containers. Safe, convenient, and affordable. Pack it, store it, move it, Cubit. Get started at cubit.ca. That's CUBEIT.ca. Talk back on the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
On the political front, everyone is now staking out the territory, right, on the political front here in Ontario, because I think there's a feeling that the shine might be coming off Doug Ford now. Because the second wave is here, because of the situation with testing, because of the situation with the schools, the confusing messages from the government. So you have, for example, you have Stephen Del Duca, who's, what would you call him? The newish premier, the newish leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. He doesn't have a seat in the legislature yet, but he is taking the side of the healthcare people, calling for tighter restrictions and a rollback of the reopenings. Del Duca came out yesterday, called on the government to close indoor dining rooms for restaurants, close bars, close gyms, fitness centers, and keep them closed for 28 days. What is it, magically going to be better on the 29th day? And then he says the provincial government needs to be there to act as a backstop to support those businesses, that the Ontario government could come up with some sort of, I don't know, industry-specific aid package for these businesses. He accuses the Ford government of sitting on billions of dollars in unspent money that was given or flowed down from the federal government. And Del Duca says Premier Ford should be taking federal money
use it to support businesses here in Ontario that have to close again, but he says they have to close again. That's a political opinion from a politician, but it's pretty much in line with what we're hearing from those at the top of the healthcare system. From CEOs of hospitals, Ontario Hospital Association, Registered Nurses Association, Chief Medical Officer of Health in Toronto. They're all saying the same thing, right? Close things down. Indoor settings where people are getting together, close it all down. Provide government support for those businesses. Let's get a handle on flattening the curve. And the government of Ontario, led by Premier Doug Ford, is saying not now. Not even willing to entertain that. Not right now. Want to see more evidence? Show me the evidence. Why do you think these daily case counts are at record highs? Is it because of indoor dining? Is it because of bars? Is it because of gyms? And if that's the case, what should be done about that? What should be done about that? In Chesterville this morning. Paul. Good morning, Paul. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead. Good morning.
Morning, Rob. Love your show.
Thank you.
Listen, these guys that are calling for the closure of the restaurants, which have already lost 50% of their business, why don't these guys take a 50% pay cut and see how they feel? You know, between the politicians who make oodles of money and these hospital CEOs who make more than oodles of money. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
And I hope Mr. Ford doesn't cross that line in the sand and he stands behind it.
You want him to stick to his guns on this one, you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay, because this is a new tune that he's singing, Paul. Let's face it, from the very earliest days, he has said every move we make is on the advice of health experts, to the point where people thought he was kind of hiding behind the advice of the health experts. So,
Hey, listen, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I didn't like he was doing, but I like what he's doing here. And I think a lot of this community is community spread and not necessarily any other spread like a restaurant.
Okay. All right, thank you, Paul. Thank you.
Okay.
Downtown James. Good morning, James.
Hey, morning.
Good morning.
As you know, I take COVID very seriously. I started masking on St. Patrick's Day and was telling everyone else to mask and take vitamin D, so I take it very, very seriously. But when Munter says, you know, the CHEO's overwhelmed, that's not from COVID patients. There's zero pediatric COVID patients at CHEO. There hasn't been one since July. They're overwhelmed every year because of lack of funding for the last, 20 years and it's liberals. So, and I don't think there should be, I think it's community spread, like what the mayor said today. It's not happening in restaurants. It's happening in private homes. And I do have a good friend that has 3 young children and owns 3 restaurants. And he now had to put his house up for sale and stuff like that. So I'm very, very sensitive to this, right? So I think Canadians have this sense of superiority over Americans that somehow, because Trump is their leader, that they're going to get all the COVID and we are somehow immune to it. And people have been very, very slack beginning around August. And the number of people that have downloaded the COVID app is pitifully low, like a couple million out of whatever, 25 million. And 95% of the people that do get a COVID diagnosis don't even bother putting the code in to the app to tell others that they were in fact infected. So, I mean, I think Canadians have been are kind of obnoxious about.
So what do you think about this idea that somehow if we close restaurant, dining rooms, bars, gyms, for this period of time, 28 days is the recommendation, I guess, from Mr. Del Duca, that we will flatten the curve? Are you saying that these establishments are kind of being used as a scapegoat and there's a lot more to it?
Exactly. I believe that the mayor today was saying that the infections are not coming from those sort of establishments. It's from private homes and gatherings, etc., right? So I have not seen the Chief Medical Officer of Ontario or Dr. Etches say this is an issue in Ottawa. Maybe it's an issue in Toronto, and maybe the behavior isn't as good, but when I go to restaurants in Ottawa, both a little bit indoors and mainly outdoors, I'm not seeing dangerous behavior. So I'm a kind of a fan of the latest, the Great Barrington Declaration, which is also an international declaration saying that we got to be very careful with it, and that's also from medical experts saying we
Barrington Declaration.
the Great Barrington Declaration, yes. We've got to be very careful about lockdowns. But like I said, I'm very, very serious about COVID, but I don't want to scapegoat restaurants, and I want some more transparency about why hospitals are being overwhelmed. It's not, like I said, Chio, it's not from pediatric patients. It's just normal for them, and also a lot of their staff are having to work on testing at Brewer. But it's not from pediatric patients.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your call.
Have a great show. I love it.
Thank you. Downtown James. He's one of my favorite callers. He is on the ball, that guy. We have the latest case numbers. You know what? I won't tell them about. I'll save it for the newscast. I can tell you this: the testing numbers are up. I think that 43,300 tests might be an all-time high. I think for tests. I'm pretty sure it's an all-time high, David. But I mean, the issue is with testing 43,000. We have these records for caseloads. Not necessarily today, although that may be a record for Ottawa. I'll leave that to the newsroom to figure that out. The record number of cases for Ottawa today, potentially. But yesterday's total across Canada was the highest daily increase since the pandemic was declared. Quebec, 1,300 cases. So, I mean, more than half the cases are in Quebec, right? 1,300 cases in Quebec yesterday. Even the Outaouais had more than 60 cases yesterday. That was an all-time record. So, I mean, records, all-time high. And it's been like this for many days now. But why? Why is this the case? Is it all about bars, restaurants, gyms, congregate settings, indoor gathering spaces, commercial? And what should be done about it? What should be done about it? It's frustrating. It is very frustrating to face this circumstance and the prospect of more restrictions here in the first week of October, so many months after we were driven into lockdown. This is the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and 1310 News.
The Rob Snow Show, brought to you by Myers Automotive Group. Every hour, we receive more new information about the coronavirus. What are the facts? What's fiction? Now more than ever, check OttawaMatters.com. We'll break down what you need to know, the information to keep you and your family safe. Because at OttawaMatters.com, facts matter. When it matters to you, trust the stories that are written by the people who know your city, including the team you trust at 1310 News. Any time of day, click on OttawaMatters.com.
Another Highbridge Construction satisfied customer.
Highbridge, I've always found, has done an amazing job from the quality standpoint, but still been very reasonably priced.
That's Alex from Orleans.
We've also referred them to friends and family, and we're always very confident when they come that if something does go wrong, that they're always going to be there for us as well.
Go to highbridgeconstruction.com. View their portfolio and contact information. Physical distancing and safety protocols are in place for new home construction, renovations, and emergency repairs. Take the Highbridge.
At Spence Diamonds, we're a proudly Canadian company. But to be honest, our wrist shot is pretty weak. We like maple syrup, but we have no idea how to make it. If we make cheese curds for poutine, they probably wouldn't squeak at all. What we are good at is finding beautiful, ethically sourced diamonds at great value to meet any budget. And we're pretty nice to boot. To us, that's pretty Canadian. Spence Diamonds, open now in Rideau Center with COVID safety protocols.
Well, Jack, it's just us big old pumpkins left on this muddy country lane.
You're no pumpkin. You're just a scrawny 2-pound gourd.
Well, Jack, we have the same squash DNA, you know.
Wait, is that a Subaru coming to pick us up?
It sure is. With standard symmetrical full-time all-wheel drive. Oh, what an adventure this will be! You're finally going to be a jack-o'-lantern, Jack.
And you're going to be a bland side dish.
Fall back into fall adventures with a Subaru. Hurry in for clear-out deals on 2020 models at your local Ontario Subaru dealer.
Number one for breaking news. This is 1310 News, Ottawa.
It's Wednesday, October 7th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, some light rain. It's 13 degrees, and here's what's making news this hour. Provincial numbers of COVID-19 just released show the city has an additional 121 cases That's out of 583 new cases across Ontario. These results come from over 43,000 tests. There are 173 new cases in Toronto. Then it's Ottawa with 121, 75 in York, and 70 in Peel region. Again, 6 in every 10 new cases today are someone under the age of 40. Conservative leader Aaron O'Toole says he's going to allow MPs free votes on a couple of bills that are controversial within his party. Last week, the federal government reintroduced legislation to ban the practice of forcing someone to undergo therapy aimed at changing their sexual orientation or gender identity. On Monday, the Liberals reintroduced a bill that expands eligibility for medical assistance in dying. Both pieces of legislation have met stiff resistance from socially conservative pockets of the Conservative Party. Supreme Court of Canada set to review an Ontario Court of Appeal decision for holding new trials for 2 men accused of plotting to derail a Via Rail train. The Crown argues it would be a miscarriage of justice to grant the 2 men a new trial. The 2 claim the jury found them guilty of terror-related charges in 2015 because the jury was chosen incorrectly.